Right. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. Illumine our hearts, O Lord Jesus Christ, our God, with the pure light of thy divine knowledge, and plant in us also the fear of thy blessed commandments, that trampling down all carnal desires, and enter a spiritual manner of living, both thinking and doing such things as well pleasing unto thee. For that the illumination of our souls and bodies, O Christ our God, and unto thee we ascribe glory together with thine originate Father, and thine holy good life-giving Spirit, now and ever, and unto ages of ages. Amen. Okay, so today's topic is gossip.
Geez, you jumped right on it.
I did. Although, to be honest with you, I don't know how far, and it's like I said, it's going to be a short class because, I mean,
gossip.
you will. Okay.
Well,
What gossip? What gossip do you have, Norma? Speak up.
Jeffrey, not Jeffrey. I get their names on it.
Trevor.
Trevor.
Wife is having twins.
Trevor's wife is having twins. Okay, so we will talk about that. That's good. Yes, thank you. That's a very important thing.
What is?
That's a very important thing because
where do you draw the line?
Yep.
Well,
Yes.
for a little, she didn't allow us to tell anybody. So.
You know, I do a lot of listening.
It's gossip.
Not like the rest of us kids.
all right. So yes, this is part of the journey of it all, isn't it? Trying to figure out what is gossip, what is not, how to handle gossip, how to not pass it along. There are all sorts of different things that you can do. So let's see, how do we start this? Okay, well, since Albert said it, I mean, it probably won't take very long, but what is gossip? What is it?
To me, it's hearsay.
What's hearsay?
Something you heard, but you don't know that is true. And even if it is true, if it's something, in my eyes, if it's something demeaning to that person, so-and-so got in trouble doing this, did you hear about that?
Okay.
And,
I think
it's like news,
Right.
passing news on, but not knowing all the facts. And to me, in my eyes, it's really none of my business. So I have to say, I do a lot of listening. I don't.
Okay.
Me too, I think.
All right.
There's some good points there. One of my business.
Uh-huh.
It's true. But
Yeah.
To me, that would be right.
Okay. Can everybody hear?
It's not.
No, if everybody could talk a little louder, that would be good.
Okay.
There's a fine line there.
Okay. So basically we just tried to start out with the definition of gossip. And part of it is hearsay, part of it is it's none of my business, part of it is it's hard to verify or validate. Yeah, okay, so all of those are good indicators of what gossip would be.
Is gossip always negative things or can it be positive things?
We'll tease that out a little bit, okay? Because when I have people come to me for confession, I have a couple of guidelines that I give them that may help them navigate that terrain a little bit.
The definition.
Okay. Nah, I don't need a definition, but thank you.
I think it's when everybody tells it. Like if somebody tells me something, I don't tell anyone else.
Uh-huh.
But other people tell to each other. And
But if you're listening,
That's what I've heard, that you don't tell anyone, but everyone else tells. That's exactly what I've heard. Get it?
Mhm.
Yeah. I was just, never mind. All right. So
You need me or?
no. I was just
Well, that's
gossiping.
true. I
See.
usually don't say anything if somebody tells me.
So does gossip have to be bad?
Not necessarily. Mhm.
I mean, is it usually having to do with someone's misery or their suffering or their failures or something they did wrong or
Well, I think most people would say yes.
okay.
So if it was something good that you were spreading,
as long as
most
it's
people would consider
it's
that
true and you know the
Oh.
facts.
Well-
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, let's continue to tease this out. Does anyone else have anything they want to add to that so far? Mother or Nancy, do you have anything you want to add?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
I think if they tell you something bad about somebody, maybe you'd start to try to help them. Feel sorry for them. I don't know. I think I would.
What about what we see on TV?
What do you mean?
I mean, there is a lot of, I mean, think about even,
You mean the news?
how many of you know, let me think. How many of you know who Beyonce is? Will Smith?
Yeah.
She is.
You know who Will Smith is?
Mhm.
Okay. Have they gotten in? I mean, both of them have been subjects of topics on the news lately. Not so lately, one of them. But what about those things? Beyonce canceled a whole bunch of her concerts, right? Because of the complications of everything, right? And Will Smith smacked Chris Rock, what, a year ago, right? And so everybody sees that, right? So both of those, how do they have a bearing on your life? Unless you're like Beyonce and you're not going to see her in Pittsburgh, but not at all, right? So that's part of what gossip is. It's something that really isn't going to impact you one way or another. It's not going to change your life. Okay. What has started to happen in our media outlets? How many people know what Joe Biden is up to? How many people know what Donald Trump is up to? How many people know what, gosh, what's that wide receiver's name? Antonio Brown is up to? How many people know? I mean, all of these things that, we don't need to know the minute details of Joe Biden. We don't need to know the minute details of Donald Trump. We don't need to know the minute details of any of those figures. And yet there it is. Why?
Did you hear Biden didn't acknowledge one of his grandchildren
No,
until
don't care.
it was all brought up?
Totally don't care.
His business, right?
Right.
Totally don't care. It's completely irrelevant. It's
does
not going to change
now?
our lives. It's not going to change his life. The fact that you know or don't know is not going to have any impact on Joe Biden at all. None. And it's not going to have any impact on you. Probably won't change how you want to vote either. It's just, we live in a society now where we are fed with information that is of absolutely no value to us. It's just stuff to talk about. And in the end, it becomes this great cesspool of who's doing what. And I mean, think about the Kardashians, my favorite punching bag. The Kardashians have absolutely no bearing on human existence, and yet they are one of the most wildly popular collection of people in the United States. Okay. The only thing that's interesting about them is that they are the daughters of the man who helped to get O.J. Simpson bailed out of going to jail. Now you do. And do you need to know that? No. But that's, I mean, this is part
Who
of
cares?
the mess that we have in our society, that we are an entertainment saturated society. We are a sports saturated society, and every once in a while we take the two and we smush them together. Okay. There are entire TV and radio stations dedicated to the lives of professional sports players. KDKA on the FM dial, right? You listen to that, it's all about, I mean, the football game lasts maybe if you're lucky 2.5 hours. But then you have conversation about that football game from the end of the game all the way to the start of the next game. Okay, so we're talking 6 days plus. Okay, so all of this is part of our experience in this culture. Okay, now St. Paul wisely says everything is available to him. Okay, everything, I can take in everything I want, everything. But not everything is edifying or beneficial. And so part of what we have to figure out as followers of Jesus Christ is, how do we filter what is necessary and beneficial, what helps us grow, and what do we just cast aside? Okay.
It's difficult.
Can be.
I mean, we're an emotional animal,
Yes.
and we're driven by our desires. and wants.
You need to speak really loudly so they can hear.
Okay, we're driven by emotional, the emotional part of our being. What we want, not necessarily what I need. What I desire, not what I should have.
Right.
And that's why commercials are such, and ads that we see in magazines are such. And so therefore the media is going to work on that.
Right.
They know that we're going to vote emotionally.
Right.
Not necessarily factually.
Right.
We know that we're going to make decisions emotionally. In fact, It's even come down to stuff that I read on the internet about the church.
Yeah, yep,
You know, you
You're right.
think he tells me to stay away from him, but I can't.
you gotta.
Some of those Facebook groups on the Orthodox Church, you know, I mean, there's one called Ask the Priest. And yet when someone asks a question, there'll be 50 responses, not one from a priest. So therefore, it's all someone's emotion rather than their actual knowledge. But people glean to that. There's thousands, maybe millions of people that glean to that information because we're emotional. And typically we listen to that which we want to hear.
Okay,
Right.
so you pointed out two very important points, okay? And this is part of what I think would help us understand how to be more discerning about how we go about our daily lives. The first is the ubiquity of the internet, okay? That we and the triumph of personal opinion. Okay, so the first thing that we wrestle with is that everyone on the internet is an authority. Okay, everyone's an authority. So they can speak whatever they want to speak and say whatever they want to say, and they can condemn whoever they want to condemn. There are converts that just came into Orthodoxy within the last half a year that are some of the attack dogs that Albert's talking about. These people haven't even been Orthodox for more than half a year, and yet they are acting as if they are authorities. Okay, because they've been brought into the church. Okay, so that's the first thing. And then I can't remember. Oh, the other thing is a thing I would call confirmation bias. Okay, confirmation bias is I have an idea. Okay, all cows should be black and white. All right, that would be my okay. So everything I do from that point forward is looking for supporting facts or supporting opinions or supporting innuendos that validate my idea that all cows should be black and white. Okay, that's a lousy example, but basically anybody who says a cow can be brown and white is crazy. They don't know what they're talking about. And in fact, I'm not even sure they're really lovers of cows. I have no idea. You know, I mean, that's awfully kind of stupid, but okay, you want to take a look at what we're going through, the unpleasantness about Ukraine. Okay, you have people that are very much on the side of Moscow. You have people that are very much on the side of the ecumenical patriarch, and they fight each other constantly. And they talk past each other, and they don't listen to each other, and they almost, it seems like they almost hate each other in terms of the vitriol and the dislike that they have for one another. It's offensive and it's amazing. But part of where gossip comes into all of this is that they are willing to cling to rumors and say that they're facts. They don't bother to try to substantiate them. They don't bother to try to find a counter argument to that particular point of view. They just take it and they run with it. And they spread that kind of gossip. War is one of the worst things for rumors, innuendos, and gossip, okay? Because the other guy is always seen as the enemy. You can't humanize them, okay? So they have to be something else. So we struggle with these kinds of things, especially now because Orthodoxy is in a really weird position where there are Orthodox Christians fighting Orthodox Christians. Doesn't happen often, but it does happen. So confirmation bias is one of the most deceptive and challenging parts of all this because you don't even realize that it's happening to yourself. I mean, one of the worst cases of confirmation bias is the United States media, okay? Because if you're a conservative, there are certain channels that you can sit there and listen to every day, and not just one, but you can listen to a whole group of them, but they all basically say the same thing. And it's the same thing at the liberal side. There are channels that you can listen to and never have to waver from it. And so they will confirm every bias that you have. They will bolster every opinion that you have. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's truth. It's just one perspective versus the other. And because it's the internet, you get to choose. When the internet didn't exist, you listened to PBS or CBS or NBC or ABC.
You believed them.
Okay. Well, and honestly, I mean, if you remember, Brit Hume was a very important part of ABC, wasn't he? Okay. Well, then it became a very important part of Fox News. But him and everyone else who thought like he did became a very important part of Fox News. At ABC, at least he was diverse. He had his opinions. You had other opinions as well right next to him. So you have those kinds of challenges now where you don't have to move outside your comfort zone. You just get confirmed what it is that you want to believe. And that's part of why I say don't watch anything. Again, returning back to the question I asked at the beginning, even watching the local news, tell me what on the local news impacts your life so that you would have to change your life because of something you see on the news. We'll get back to gossip in a second, but all of this is part of the same thing, by the way.
One thing that impacts me is the weather.
Yeah. I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
okay,
And
well-
none of them know what they're talking about anyway.
Yeah, I'll get you
And it
a weather
changes.
station and you'll be all set, right?
Yeah.
If you look to the west, generally you know what's coming, you know? Sometimes you have to look to the east, but that's very unusual.
Mm.
Sometimes it's the north, sometimes it's the south. Stick a finger up, see which wind's the wind's blowing or the clouds over there. Okay, we know what's coming. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. And that's part of the challenge that we have to face, again, culturally, is that we don't really need to know the things that we know. Again, returning to St. Paul's maxim, everything is available to me, but not everything is edifying. Okay, so the things, again, we have to struggle to determine what is edifying versus what is not.
Other than the weather, I guess we really shouldn't watch the news.
Right. Yes, that would be what I would say.
This woman who's trying to kill her husband or was having her husband killed, it's news and sounds interesting, but it has no effect on me. And
No.
No, it's titillating.
Yeah.
I mean, you start wondering, okay, what is it in her mind that makes her want to do what she's doing? Why would she want to do that? But really, if you understood, would that help you?
no,
I mean, think about that. If you understood it, maybe it would hurt you.
I guess I shouldn't watch Forensic Files anymore.
Well, I mean, it's all part of the same kind of a challenge. We like to be entertained, and there's nothing wrong with being entertained. Okay, but you've got to make sure, yeah, we can go down another rabbit hole here, but think about what we see on TV and how we had a discussion here a number of years ago, and we talked about people like the Amish that are pacifists. Okay, violence is one of the major things that I wrestle with, because violence in my mind has no role in the church. And so because Christ himself, through his crucifixion and everything else that came with that, basically a violent act was done to him, and his response is, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Okay. And it actually had to be a violent act that brought him to enable us to be saved. Okay. He had to die on that cross. They had to kill him in order for him to do the rest of the things that he did. Okay. Go to Hades, destroy the power of death, rise from the dead, ascend to heaven. All of those things happened because he was murdered. Okay. So there's a paradox there that we have to wrestle with as Christians. With all that said, we had the discussion, and I know I'm gossiping. We had someone say, yeah, but Mel Gibson in the movie The Patriot was a pacifist until he couldn't be a pacifist anymore and he had to go kill people. And I said, yeah, but that's a movie. I said, but he did it. I said, yes, but it's a movie. It's something that was written by a writer. It's not like Mel Gibson all of a sudden had this moment, this epiphany, and decided to go, be a warrior. Okay. It was a movie. It was all set. The stage was written. And that's part of what we wrestle with, if you look at most of our movies, everything is settled violently. Everything, even the Avengers, you know, even the Avengers, you know, Marvel comics, all those things, even those things are settled through violence. Anyway,
You remember Sergeant York, the movie, Gary Cooper.
speak loud.
Sergeant York,
Okay,
Gary Cooper.
go on.
He was from the hills of Kentucky. He got drafted into World War I. But he was a pacifist. And he refused to fight. But he was sent overseas, to France. And his group was being slaughtered by the Germans. So because he was a sharpshooter, he took it upon himself to sneak around, and he was just picking them off and they captured dozens and dozens of Germans.
Shooting them like turkeys.
Yes,
Get
like
the last
the
one.
last one first.
Last one.
Right. But when his general asked him, well, you were a pacifist, why did you do it? He says, well, because they were killing my friends.
Yeah.
That's why he killed the Germans, because they were killing my
Oh.
friends. But he still claimed to be a pacifist.
So there you just have to be careful of scripting. Okay. I mean,
Well,
even that is a
It's a
script.
true story.
Yes, but it's still a
And
script.
then eventually, he was given all these awards and money when he came back to the States. They had a big parade for him in New York City, and he refused it all. Didn't take any of the money that was, and the other awards that that they wanted to give him.
Yeah.
So there was some semblance of his true self.
I had a priest friend.
Right, he wanted to-
I had a priest friend who was drafted and was a conscientious objector.
Mm.
And he went, but he worked as a medic, you know, during Vietnam. You know, so he saved a lot of lives through the work that he did. And I mean, he was on the helicopters, you know.
Smash.
Yeah, pretty much the MASH thing. Yeah, exactly. So he saved a lot of lives. And that, I mean, so you have alternatives, but so let's get back to the issue. So the issue is all things are available to us, but how do we discern? How do we sort out what's really beneficial to us and what is unnecessary? So getting back to the idea of gossip, I want to read a couple of things from the scriptures. Could someone please find Proverbs 11?
I don't have my glasses. 'Cause
Ah.
They're in my purse.
I'm just going to get a bunch of reading glasses. We'll put them in the middle of the table.
Where's your purse at, Deb? Oh.
That's okay.
I like to listen.
Me
That's
too.
okay. But whoever speaks has to speak like a booming, authoritative voice.
11 what?
Let's look at start at 11, 12, and then go to maybe 14.
He who belittles his neighbor lacks sense, but a man of understanding remains silent. He who goes about as a talebearer reveals secrets, but he who is trustworthy in spirit keeps a thing hidden. Where there is no guidance, a people falls, but in an abundance of counselors, there is safety.
Okay, you can just hang out right there. Okay, so I love the Proverbs. We read them through the course of the fast in the Great Lent. Okay. And here we hear, it's so easy to just blow through them. And usually they're comparisons. This way is bad, this way is good. Okay. So what I wanted to look at, this is a different translation, but it basically says, whoever goes about slandering reveals secrets, but he who is trustworthy in spirit keeps a thing protected. Okay. That's Proverbs 11:13, according to this translation. All right. And the key word there is slander. What is slander?
Something harmful.
Something harmful. Okay. So it's when someone says something harmful about another person,
Right.
right?
True or untrue.
True or
Mhm.
untrue. Okay. Probably more untrue than true. Okay. You know, like someone can sue you for slander, but if they sue you for slander, it has to be a falsehood. Okay, it can't be true. Okay,
Right.
all right. So again, this is Proverbs. Would you reread that again from 11, 12, and just read that first verse?
Of 12?
Yep.
He who belittles his neighbor lacks sense, but a man of understanding remains silent.
Okay. So he who basically slanders his neighbor is not to be trusted, is he? Or she? Okay. But the wise neighbor keeps silent.
So you can believe it for yourself, but.
Well, you can judge for yourself.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
But even there, you have to weigh in your mind again what builds up the spirit and what tears it down, what builds up a person, what destroys them. Okay, both in your heart and of your own self. Okay, let's do 2018. You want to read this time, Ken? Just speak loud, read loud. 20 verse 18 to 21.
(2018).
Yep.
Plans are established by counsel, by wise guidance, wage war. He who goes about gossiping reveals secrets. Therefore, do not associate with one who speaks foolishly.
Keep going.
If one curses his father or his mother, his lamp will be put out in utter darkness.
One more.
An inheritance gotten hastily in the beginning will in the end not be blessed.
Okay. So here we're hearing a couple of things. The first is about going to war. Okay. About making sure that when you go to war, you have people that you can trust. And then the rest has to do with, I mean, it's not as germane to our topic, but again, the way of the light and the way of the dark. The way of the light is, the way of the dark is an inheritance easily gotten. Think of, how do I be nice about this? You can think of people in our country, especially from the old country, who come here and they roll up their sleeves and they go and they start a business and they're successful and everything's great and wonderful. And then you have kids and their kids are lazy and not interested and so forth because they inherited their money without having to work for it. Okay. That's the essence of the second part. But the first part, again, has to do with slandering and revealing secrets. Okay. If you are about to go to war, if you are about to have a battle with somebody, do you want the other side to know what you're up to?
No.
No. Even think about one of the highlights of the start of the American Revolution. The British were going to come and they were going to attack somewhere. Okay. And so the colonists up in Boston said, well, we're going to put lights in the Old North Church, one if by land, two if by sea, right? The British wouldn't know what those signals meant, but everyone who was on the colonial side knew. Paul Revere especially. So he then goes and does his ride. The British are coming, okay, to make sure that everybody was ready. And indeed, then you have the skirmish at Lexington and Concord, right? So you have, it's important to keep things confidential. A slanderer, a gossip, has a tendency of opening and revealing things that are best left unsaid. There's a great line in our Psalms when we're doing Vespers. O Lord, I have cried unto thee, hear me, O Lord. And then it says, set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth, and an encircling door round about my lips. Okay, so even there, We are praying for the wisdom to be careful about what we are saying and not to let what we are saying cause strife or hurt others. Okay, to be guarded about what we are saying so that we do not say a word that is harmful to another. Okay, but this makes a great, well, let's look at the next one. Let's look at Proverbs 16:28.
16.
Proverbs 16, verse 28. We're just going back and forth.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
16, verse 28. $16.28.
You wait, Trout.
Anybody can read. Whoever wants to read can read.
He's waiting.
A perverse man spreads strife, and a whisperer separates close friends.
Okay. A dishonest man spreads strife, and a whisperer separates close friends. So a whisperer would be another person who spreads gossip and innuendos. And a dishonest man sows enmity between people to create those divisions that exist. And so again, it's important for us to remember that that which is available to us is not always that which is helpful or necessary. Builds us up, right? Spiritually enriches us, okay? So this is Proverbs 16 through 19. Well, I have another thing here. So there are 6 things that the Lord hates, 7 that are an abomination to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, the hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that make haste to run to evil, a false witness who breathes out lies, and one who sows discord among brothers. Now, again, the purpose of what is the purpose of gossip?
Entertainment for those that are listening and spreading.
Yes, but not only, right? So it's entertainment, it's something to spend time. What else?
Oftentimes it's when you're insecure and you're gossiping about someone that has done something pretty bad, right?
Yep.
You say to yourself, boy, well, just like the Pharisee and the publican, thank God I'm not like him.
Right.
Right, so it elevates you without you doing anything,
Yeah.
without you deserving elevation.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Anyone?
But we do revel. We do, as a people, we revel in other people's misery.
Again, think of Jerry Springer of
Absolutely.
reposed memory, right? Watching that show, watching Maury Povich, I mean, all these things you get to watch in the waiting room of your doctor's office, right? Well, even the soap operas, you watch a soap opera and you're like, well, thank God I'm not like that. You watch the Kardashians, thank God I'm not like that. You watch all these different kinds of shows and it helps to elevate you because you look at them and they're pathetic. Okay, and all of a sudden you're up here and they're down there and everything's great for you. Okay, but it's the same thing. You're building yourself up by tearing someone else down.
Because
And
it's easier.
because it's easier. Right. And, especially something like, Springer, where they're like throwing chairs at each other and everyone's screaming, Jerry, Jerry, Jerry. Yeah, he's been around for a long time. I saw him in college. It's insane. And that is part of, it takes the mundane existence that we live in. And we think, well, at least we're not like that. Right. But it's exactly returning back to what Albert said. It's like the publican and the Pharisee. Thank God I'm not like that person on Jerry Springer over there, when in reality, we don't know what they're going through. We don't know what their heartaches are. We don't know what their sufferings
They
are.
just told you.
Well, I think they were helped. Some of them were coached.
There's
But-
a little scripting that goes on.
And I grew up in DC. Maury Povich was a
Oh,
news
he was
broadcaster
really
in Washington, DC. He was a very decent person. And then he discovered that's not where the money is. You know, him and Geraldo, both of them, you know, and way before Geraldo got into the Fox News stuff, you know, he was going into what was it? It's Al Capone's vault. Remember all
Mhm.
that?
Oh,
Remember that?
yeah.
Same guy, right? But even before that, he was a legit investigative reporter. But he realized it's better to play with rumors and innuendos because that's where everyone focuses. So it's, you know, again, everything is available to us, but not everything is useful or needful.
I never watched those shows.
Well, I don't by choice. Okay. I am convinced if you really want to go crazy, just sit there and watch daytime TV.
Somebody said that I never watched that. They do.
No, I don't.
Well, obviously I know about them, so I have to have seen them at some point in my life.
What do you do all day long? With TV.
So Exodus 23:1, and I realize
I watch the game show.
I realize I'm proof
Yeah, all right.
texting like crazy, but I'll read this one out loud. You shall not spread a false report. You shall not join hands with a wicked man to be a malicious witness. Okay, now think about the context there, right? When someone tells you something of gossip, then what is it that if you are a willing listener, you're participating in someone reporting a malicious event.
Mhm.
You are a witness to that. Okay.
Get up and walk away.
Get up and walk away. Matthew 12:36-37. I tell you, on the day of judgment, people will give account for every careless word they speak. For by your words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned. Yikes.
No, I'm going home.
I'm out of here. Wow. Right? St. Luke 12:3, therefore, whatever you have said in the dark shall be heard in the light. And what you have whispered in private rooms shall be proclaimed on the housetops.
Hence, what goes around.
What goes
Comes
around comes around.
That's
But
for
this is
sure.
on a divine level.
Yeah.
Okay. We're talking, you know, your life is going to be spread out, and there it is for everything to be seen. So, yes. You know, all of this helps to drive home some very important points that we need to be careful about. You know, we just have to be discerning. And this doesn't mean we have to be boring. Okay. It's not, you know, and I think that's what we're afraid of. We're afraid if we're with a group of people that we'll have nothing to add to the conversation. And so we become participants in whatever is going on. You should hear what happened to so and so, you know, or their son. Goodness, I was sitting, it was amazing. I was sitting there listening to some, you know, someone got stabbed over at Kelly's or something like that. And it
Oh,
was,
yeah, okay.
yeah, right. Well, you heard that. Yeah. And it was
Somebody gossiped to me.
well, and somebody gossiped it over here because that person knew one of the people that was sitting there.
Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
so they, well, anyway, you get the idea. I mean, it just builds from there. Okay. And it had to do with a waitress and her boyfriend versus someone who allegedly didn't pay for their food. It was the boyfriend who stabbed the guy who allegedly tried to leave.
Mm.
Okay.
Oh, what if you're doing it to make other people aware of this place?
Well, then you
Yeah,
could say I'd be really careful there. I just heard about a stabbing. You don't have to go into details. You don't have to go into anything.
Mhm.
You could say, look at the news. It's probably on the news. Okay, without going into lurid detail about, I mean, I learned things about all sorts of people that day that I'll never meet. So how does it help?
Well, yeah, that's true.
I watch the game shows, but I do watch them. You see.
Oh, well, okay. Well, we know what side of the fence you're on, Norma.
Yeah, you do know
All right.
that.
So, yeah, that's okay. So let me read you something from St. John Chrysostom, especially germane for today. I mean, that we're in the fast of the Dormition. St. John, for the value of fasting consists not in abstinence from food, but in withdrawing from sinful practices. For the value of fasting consists not in abstinence from food, but in the withdrawing. I already said that. Since he who limits his fasting only to an abstinence from meats is one who especially disparages it. Do you fast? Give me proof of it by your works. It is said, by what kind of works? Well, you see a poor man, take pity on him. If you see an enemy, be reconciled to him. If you see a friend gaining honor, don't envy him. If you see a handsome woman or a pretty woman, pass her by. For let not the mouth only fast, but also the eye, and the ear, and the feet, and the hands, and all members of our bodies. Let our hands fast by being pure from avarice. Let the feet fast by ceasing from running to unlawful spectacles, like bad movies. Let the eyes fast, being taught never to fix themselves rudely upon handsome countenances or to busy themselves with strange beauties. For looking is the food of the eyes. But if this be such as unlawful or forbidden, it mars the fast and upsets the whole safety of the soul. I like that image, the safety of the soul. But if it be lawful and safe, it adorns fasting. For it would be among the things most absurd to abstain from lawful food because of the fast, but the eyes touch even what is forbidden. Do you not eat flesh? Feed not upon lasciviousness by means of the eyes. Let the ear fast also. The fasting of the ear consists in refusing to receive evil speakings and calumnies, gossip. You shall not receive a false report, it says. Let the mouth too fast from disgraceful speeches and railing. For what does it profit that we abstain from birds and fishes and yet bite and devour our brethren? The evil speaker eats the flesh of his brother and bites the body of his neighbor. Because of this, Paul utters the fearful saying from Galatians 5:15, if you bite and devour one another, take heed that you not be consumed one of another. So there you have it. That's from St. John Chrysostom's homily 3 on the statutes. More from St. John Chrysostom. Do not tell me I would only be a slanderer only if I lied. I am committing no slander if I tell the truth. This is a grievous error. Speaking evil of others, even if the evil be true, is always a crime. Do you want to correct your brother? Weep. Pray to God. Warn him by speaking to his heart and exhort him. This is how St. Paul acted. But backbiting and slander is so sweet, you say. Yes, but not backbiting is sweeter still. The slanderer created deadly anxiety for himself. He is constantly besieged by suspicion and fear. He repents, but too late. He bites his tongue, but in vain. He trembles, for as his words spread, they may cause him greater danger and expose those who repeat them to enmities which easily could have been avoided. Wow. This is John Chrysostom. This is the 400s. This is what I love so much about the Church Fathers. I mean, they have a lot of things to say, but what I really appreciate about them is he could be talking to people today, right? I mean, much of what he says is exactly what we are wrestling with today. Even the hot topic issues of society today were covered by them and handled by them rather pastorally.
And that's why we would mostly say things haven't changed.
No,
You know, they're no better or worse than they were, 2000 years ago.
Yep. So I'm going to finish the quote and then I'm going to backtrack and we're going to take a look at it a little bit more closely. Are you here to praise someone and raise him in my esteem? Then gladly I will give ear and savor your conversation. But if you intend to speak ill of someone, let me stop now. I cannot stand filth and stench. What have I to gain by knowing that someone is evil? Would I not be losing something instead? Talk to him yourself, and let us mind only our business. Wow. Yeah, I didn't have time to look up any other church fathers, but I mean, that says pretty much everything, right?
Well, the tough thing to discern is what is our business?
Okay.
It is.
Well, we'll talk about that. So let's go back. So he says, I would only be a slanderer if I lie. I'm not committing a slander if I tell the truth. And that's honest. That's what we talked about. We delineated that slander is a falsehood that is spread that's harmful to somebody. Okay. But St. John is being very clear that says speaking any evil of any person is he calls it a crime. It's a sin. Okay. It's a sin. If you want to correct your brother, weep, pray to God, warn him by speaking to his heart, not mine, his, and advise and exhort him, beg him to change. Okay. Backbiting and slander is so sweet, and it is. It brings us into the fore. If we've got juicy gossip that we can share with others, we're the center of attention. We have everyone's attention for a moment, and we are able to bask in that spotlight just for that moment. Okay. But let me point something out to all of us. When we are involved in gossip about somebody, especially when they're not in our presence, okay, well, what happens when those people and the person you're talking about are away from you? What are they talking about you? What are they saying about you? What do you want them to say about you? Because if you've just unloaded a whole bunch of stuff about this person, how horrible they are, or what they did wrong, or anything like that, how do you think those people are going to deal with what you told them? How do you think they're going to deal about you? How would you want them to? So what you would want is for them to say good about you, right? Well, are they going to say good about you if you've been spreading bad about others?
Yeah.
Okay. The slander created deadly anxiety for himself. Think about that.
Say that
Okay.
again.
So, well, let me put it in different words. So we've just talked about someone else. Okay. Well, I had all this information that I was privy to that I then shared with a whole group of people. Don't you think that's going to get back to the person who told me those things in confidence? Right? So in sharing those things, I put myself at risk. Okay, that's what St. Paul or St. John means by creating a deadly anxiety for himself.
Mhm.
Continuing, he's constantly besieged by suspicion and fear. Oh my goodness, I told this story, right? Now what's going to happen? You know, that's going to get spread out, and that person is going to find out, and they're going to be really mad at me, right? Now you live in fear because you said those things. Now I live in fear because I said those things, and then you have to worry. He repents, but too late. He bites his tongue, but in vain. He trembles for his words that he may cause greater danger and expose those who repeat them to enmities which easily could have been avoided by not saying anything in the first place. Right? Yeah, that's really profound. It really is. And so the second part, that very first part, when I'm in confession and people say, you know, that they've gossiped about this or that, the first thing I say is, well, okay, how do you want the people that you've told stories to, how do you want them to perceive you? Me obviously can't control it, but if all you do is give them good news, like positive, affirming news, beneficial things that are edifying and uplifting, then they're going to look at you and they may be jealous of you, and that's their problem. But if they just base their reports on your positivity, then all they have to say is good news.
Never had a bad thing to say about anybody.
Never had a bad thing to say about anybody,
Mhm.
right?
But it's okay if you can say, pass it on.
We're getting there. Okay, we're getting there. And that's what St. John says in this next paragraph. Are you there to praise someone and raise him in my esteem? Then I will gladly give ear and savor your conversation. I love that. I will savor the conversation. I will be grateful for what I have heard. But if you intend to speak ill of someone, let me stop you now. What a beautiful, I mean, great, that's great. I cannot stand filth and stench. Wow. What have I gained? What do I gain by knowing that someone is evil? That's so deep. That is so deep. What do I gain to learn that someone is evil?
Stay away from.
Yeah, but you're judging,
Yeah.
okay? So be careful.
Oh, you gotta be careful.
You
I
gotta be
understand.
super careful. Okay? And what does that mean? Someone is evil. What does that mean?
Well, that's subjective.
I
Right,
was gonna say, how do we
Right.
know they're evil?
right. I mean, if that person has always dealt with you fairly, right? Has always been honest with you, has always been caring and compassionate to you or your family, do you need to know that they're evil? And
are
how
they?
would you, and how, right, and are they? Because it is subjective, and so you're dealing with the opinions of other people. Okay, not your own perceptions, again, but the perceptions of others. Okay. Would I not be losing something instead? What you heard has colored your feelings of somebody that you liked, somebody that you cared about, someone that might be saved by virtue of the friendship that you have with them, even. Someone who might come to repentance, remove the evil if you are kind to them. Talk to him yourself and let us mind only our business. Just deal with me as me. Okay? Don't load me with stuff about somebody else that's not going to build them up in my eyes.
If I want to know something about somebody else, I go to that somebody else.
That's the wisest way
Hear
to
from
do
the
it.
horse's mouth.
Yeah, now they may lie to you, but then that's on them, isn't it? That's not on you, and it's not on the person reporting to you. Yep.
I've done that recently here.
You have to. You have to. Yep. So my advice, the second prong of the advice that I give to people who confess that they gossip is when someone starts saying something bad about somebody else, rack your brain, search your memories, find something positive about that person and report it. Okay. Oh, I don't know. I love the way they sing. I love the way that they talk to their children. I love the way that they are always on time at church. I love the way that they greet people as they come into the door. I love people. I love the way, whenever it is, I love the way they cook. I love their, halushki or whatever it is. Okay. I love their spanakopita. Whatever it may be, find a virtue in them. When it comes to funerals, and I'm giving a eulogy, I sit with people. If I don't know the person, especially, I sit with people and I say, well, tell me about them. And whatever characteristics, I mean, some of them, he's a great fisherman. Okay, well, all right. I can't really do a whole lot with that. He taught other people to fish. I can work with that. Okay. And I talk about the excellences about the person. What is it about that person? So that we can honor their memory, not remember the bad stuff, but cherish the good stuff. Okay. This is the Christian way. And I know that sounds really, how do I put that? Slanted. It does. It sounds very slanted, but it is. I am highly influenced by a line of monks, Saint Silouan, Saint Sophrony, and Father Zacharias. He's not a saint, but he's a very holy person. And 201, they say, always be kind and generous in the way that you deal with others. I'm lousy at that. I'm always working on it. Okay. But always be kind and generous. We live in a society right now where especially a lot of Orthodox Christians, and I know all of a sudden I'm gossiping, but they're willing to turn their backs on the stranger, to say we are Orthodox and the rest of the world is going to hell or whatever. That is not their way. They don't condemn people they don't know. They don't condemn people that are misbehaving or misguided. They pray for them. And in fact, the way that Saint Silouan and Saint Sophrony put it is, when you start your prayers, when you are in your room and you have managed to get yourself calm and in a place where you can pray, you pray for the stranger first. Okay, somebody that you don't know. You just pray for the benefit of people that you don't know, that you don't have any connection to, self-interest or otherwise. You just pray for the whole world and for its well-being and for its stability. Because, you know, you can push your brain a little bit and you can say that there are people all over the world that are suffering. They're suffering here in Newcastle. They're suffering in Zimbabwe. They're suffering in Russia and Ukraine. They're suffering everywhere. And so we just pray that God is present in that suffering and can heal the people that are suffering. Okay? But you don't have any direct connection with all of that. But the next one you do, your enemy. Do you have enemies? Maybe you don't know if you have enemies. If you do have enemies, then pray for them. If you don't have enemies, or you think you don't have enemies, pray for them anyway. Pray for someone who may think ill of you and wish for their health and their well-being. Not their, I hope they see me in a better light. Don't worry about that. Just pray for their genuine well-being. Pray that they are okay. Do you have a bully when you were growing up? Did you have someone that was especially mean to you through your life? Doesn't matter. Pray for their well-being. And if they did something really horribly mean or horrible to you, pray for their healing and for their ability in the very end to have remorse and repentance and a desire for health and of spiritual and physical health. Pray for them. Okay? And then pray for your loved ones, your friends, your family. And then finally, when all of that is done, then you pray for yourself. Okay? But that's how you do it. And when you do it in that cycle, pray for the other, pray for the enemy or the unvirtuous, pray for the family, the people that we love and are connected to, friends, family, and then pray for ourselves. When we do that, then we lose all of the judging. We lose all of the desire for there to be this, I'm on the good side and they're on the bad side. We lose all of that. It's gone. There's nothing there. Because everybody is loved by God. Whether they choose to recognize it or not, everybody is loved by God. So, all right. Does anyone have any questions? We made it through an hour. I have one piece of guidance or advice for you, and this is personal opinion, but we'll deal with that in a second. But I want to answer any questions. Does anyone have any questions or need any kind of clarification on anything that's been said? Anyone out there in Zoom land, do you have any questions or comments?
No, a lot to think about from John Chrysostom, that's for sure.
Yes, I will put that up somewhere so that we can see that.
That
Any-
was a great session.
Thank you. Any
Yeah,
questions?
considering that you didn't think you'd have anything to say, you need to come up with more things that you don't have anything to say about.
Thank you. I have one piece of guidance, okay, especially having to do with reading things that are on the internet or from news sources, okay? And that is this. Our media has become insufferably lazy. Nobody is checking their stories anymore. They are taking news that comes from a source. They don't verify the source, and instead they just run with it. So here's my plea. Please, 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 if you hear something and you think it's particularly inflammatory, it gets you and it really makes you angry or it makes you want to take action, find out where it really comes from.
I do that.
You have to know your
I stick
sources.
pins in other people's bubbles.
You have to.
My brothers, my
So,
friends.
well, I mean, even CNN or Fox or NBC News or any of them, find out where they're reporting it from. I'll give you a classic example. During the time of Arab Spring, there were accusations that the president of Syria was gassing his own people. Okay, like dropping nerve gas and stuff on them. Okay, Well, where were they getting the information? They were getting the information from two sources. One was a source inside Saudi Arabia, and the other was a source inside Israel. Okay. Well, let me make it really clear. Saudi Arabia wants Assad dead. Okay. He is an enemy to them. They don't want him around. He doesn't represent their way of thinking. He's not a Muslim like they are. He's a different kind of Muslim. And so they have no interest in promoting things that make him look good. And Israel's the same way. For whatever reason, Israel wants Assad gone. Okay. So they're going to push news stories that Western media will pick up because they're not there. And they will pick it up and they will report that these horrible atrocities are happening without any effort to validate, because they saw two confirmations, Saudi Arabia and Israel.
Which will make somebody mad to go take care of something.
Well, Hillary Clinton, when she was running for president, said the first thing she would do is get Assad out of office. First thing she said. Okay. So that's part of, if you want to be somebody who's informed, you have to do the heavy lifting yourself, because you cannot trust people to do it for you. That's a lot of work. And it's probably better just to worry about the things you can touch. And that's my second piece of advice. Worry about the things you can touch. I can touch you, I'll worry about you. Okay. I can't touch Chris Fry, even though he's the mayor or whatever he was. I don't know if he's in an office anymore, but I mean, Brian Cameron is the mayor now, right? So, okay, I can sort of touch him. He comes to here as church, but I mean, I can't touch Biden. I can't touch the governor of PA. So let them do whatever they do, but assure the quality of your existence by taking care of the people around you. Everyone took care of the people that were around them and loved them and cherished them and respected them. You'd have a lot less suffering.
All those circles would touch.
Yeah, they may. So these are things that we can build off of. These are things that we can learn from. Dispel with the things that don't edify you. Find the things that bring you peace. Okay? Christ is our peace. And there's nothing in the world that compares to the peace that Christ gives. Nothing. So start there and build out from that. Don't let the world dictate how you see it, how you see life. Let Christ be the one who dictates how you see life, because he loves us and he will never let us go. Okay?
Okay.
All right, you got a little sermon. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you.
My pleasure. We'll talk to you soon.